All right, everybody. I started this YouTube channel because I'm a long thinker and I'm a hard thinker. And there's been several times in my life where I felt as though if I shared some ideas, perhaps people could benefit in a certain way. And basically, the premise of this channel is self-help and motivation. And you'll see a lot of guys like Jordan Peterson and David Goggins. They're very wise individuals and they have good messages, but you have to realize when you reach a certain point of intelligence, it can be hard to find a way where people of other types of intelligence can comprehend your message clearly. So basically, what I want to do is I want to take some of the lessons and some of the things that I've learned in my life and just kind of facet them in such a way that maybe they're more graspable from uh, different angles, I guess. Anyways, this video primarily is about how I conquered my depression, which I'm very happy about. And it took a long time. And believe it or not, it was actually very simple. Um, there was certain things that there's a certain level of spiritual maturity and a certain level of self-respect that I had to reach in order for that to happen. Um, and basically, I wrote some notes. I'll try and go over these, and hopefully this can help somebody in a dire situation or maybe get somebody out of a dark place. So what I have here is, first off, for me anyways, the number one thing that you want to be able to recognize if you're looking to improve your quality of life and make changes, right? Like a positive, if you want forward movement in your life, right? You want to identify patterns and cycles. And there is a difference, and this is important. So you also want to be able to distinguish between a pattern and a cycle. Okay, they're similar. A pattern is similar to a cycle, and a cycle is based on patterns. The difference is that a pattern doesn't necessarily repeat. So a pattern, you might have things that occur in a certain order, and maybe it does repeat perhaps a few times or perhaps twice or however many times. But the thing about a pattern is it does have a start point and an end point that are separate versus a cycle. The start point and the end point is the same place every time. It's very important. You have to be able to distinguish between those two things and be able to tell the difference, right? So basically, the problem that a lot of people have, right, is they fall into these patterns and cycles, or they allow patterns that aren't positive to become a cycle. And a pattern is much easier to break than a cycle. A cycle is a lot harder than a pattern to break because, as I said, the start point and the end point is not really distinguishable. That's why it's a cycle. So to break out of a cycle, you're going to have to forcibly put another point. Like, you understand, you're going to have to break it. You're going to have to physically shatter that cycle if you want to get out of it. It's almost like a prison, kind of, versus a pattern where a pattern is more flexible and a pattern is you can alter it to a degree. Um, and the thing that's very important to grasp with this is the simplicity of making these alterations, right? And how easy it is for you to benefit from having the correct mentality and having the mentality that you do have the strength to do it, and it is easy, right? For instance, I quit smoking, and I'm very happy about that. I do feel much better, and I had tried multiple times in the past, and what I noticed was when I tried before, for me, it was hard, okay? and I had a really rough time with it. And I don't know what changed per se, but I had this realization where it was like it's not the quitting smoking that's hard, okay? This is very important. It's not the quitting smoking that's hard. It's the sticking to your guns. That's what's hard, is having that conviction, having the principle, staying with your principles, right? That's the hard part. It's not the quitting smoking that's hard. It's you battling yourself mentally. It's like a chess game, you know? And as I was saying with the patterns and the cycles, is it's really easy once you break out of this cycle. There's like a period where the new pattern that you're establishing is very fragile, and it's likely even that you'll fall back into the cycle. You understand? Like you have to clear a certain distance to be free of that cycle and to not collapse back into it. And so I think that was my problem at the time. The previous times I tried to quit smoking was I didn't really get far enough mentally, and you know, I didn't have the conviction that to make it far enough away from that cycle so that it wouldn't repeat, so I could start a new pattern. Let's see. So another thing that's very important in especially conquering depression, and I want people to notice this. Notice I don't say I beat depression, right? I don't say, I overcame it. I don't. No, I conquered it, right? I owned it. I destroyed it. That's part of the mentality. You see, I didn't escape it. I'm not running away from it. No, it's dead. There is no more of it. You understand? It's this is how you have to think if you want to get out of these patterns and cycles. As I was saying, I don't mean to be repetitive. Emotional response in fitness, which is basically a way of saying mental and spiritual strength and awareness, is also very important because you have to realize where your negative emotions are coming from and where your negative mentalities are coming from. And you also have to, on the inverse, realize where your positive mentalities are coming from and where your positive emotional experiences are coming from. And you have to build around the positive things and reinforce the positive things, almost like, imagine you have like a seesaw or something, right? Now, everybody knows how a seesaw works. One side goes up when the other side goes down, and they're always in like a perpetual balance, yin and yang type situation. Now, the best analogy I could really think of on the spot for this is, say you want one end, right? Say one side of the seesaw is all these negative things, and it fluctuates the level of negative in your life. And then say the other side of the seesaw is all these positive things, and they fluctuate in tandem, right? Which may or may not always be the case, but just for illustration purposes. Now imagine, the best way that I can describe it is, if you wanted to have more positive things in your life, right? I understand I'm doing it backwards in the video. So if the positive is on this side and you want it to go up, right? There's two things you can really do, but only one of them I think is effective in terms of the human psyche. So you could either pile a bunch of stuff on top of the negative side, right? Like put a bunch of weight on one side and try and bury it. You understand? To keep the other side up. But really, that's not going to be that stable, I think. I don't think that's going to work how you would expect. I think, in my experience, the best way is to put stuff underneath the side that you want to lift up, because then it's impossible for it to go down. You understand? And this is what I mean, where You have to find things in life that satisfy you, and you have to be constructive, and you also have to be willing to try new things, because perhaps, right, if you're in a bad spot, if you're depressed or something, it may just be that you haven't found the positive influence yet. That's a possibility. I'm not saying that is for certain what it is, but it is for certain a possibility. So you have to be open-minded to the fact that, hey, maybe if I try something new, I'll have a new experience that may be positive. It may not, but maybe it will be. You know, very important to have an open mind and be willing to grow. It's I don't know. It's like, think about a tree, right? You might reach a certain point if you're a tree where you're growing, and you reach a certain point where the sun is not hitting you. Another tree or something, an object, is blocking the sunlight from hitting you, and it's preventing your further growth at that point in time. Or maybe not preventing, but it's stunting your growth at that point in time. It's slowing you down and it's holding you back, right? But once you reach a certain level of growth and you break that plane to where now you can have the sun hitting you again, then from there your growth is going to be even more rapid and even more well developed, you see. So you have to realize that happens in life too. There's going to be certain points in time where there is an object in your way, there is some type of obstacle or some type of something that is preventing you from experiencing the movement that you desire. And that happens. That happens. You can't. This is what I was saying with the emotional response, is it's important to realize where the positive and negatives are and why you feel that way. Okay? Because it might be something so simple as perhaps you consider it negative, but it is a positive. You're viewing it from a biased angle, and if you change your point of view, then maybe you'll interpret the stimulus differently. So, as I said, it pays to be open-minded and to be aware that not everything is always as it seems, and even if it is exactly how it seems, be open-minded to the point where eventually that those obstacles preventing you from reaching your growth and maturity are not going to hinder you anymore, you know? Let's see. I wrote here, avoid false or unrealistic goals and expectations. And this is a thing I feel like a lot of people have trouble with. I had a lot of trouble with it. There's no problem with dreaming big. And this actually ties into something else that I wrote here. There's no problem with dreaming big, but you need to understand progress. Okay? So you can have the biggest dream. That's totally fine. And I would actually encourage people to strive for those type of things. However, you have to understand progress. And progress doesn't go from square one to square finish line. That's not how progress works. If you ever watch them build a skyscraper or something like that, they go one floor at a time. Then they get 30, 40, 100, however many floors. But they don't just in one day bang and have a skyscraper. It doesn't work that way. That's not realistic. So if that's your expectation, of course, you're going to be disappointed every time. That's pretty self-explanatory. You need to understand, hey, if I want to make a 100-floor building, if that's where you want to reach, you have to understand, okay, well, I'm going to have to build 100 floors before my 100-floor building is going to be complete. You got me? And a lot of people don't grasp that concept, and they expect things to just kind of like, oh, I'll build one floor, and then 99 floors are going to fall into place on top without any effort. That is not how it works, and it's going to lead to a lot of disappointment. It's going to lead to a lot of confusion, right? And it's going to break you down mentally and spiritually, and it's completely avoidable. All you have to do is understand progress, okay? So avoid unrealistic goals and expectations. And again, like I said, there's not really any goals or expectations that are unrealistic in the grand scheme of things. What I'm talking about more so is um, an unrealistic time frame. So basically, the larger the goal that you're going to set for yourself, you also need to set a larger time frame for that goal to be achieved. And you need to understand, in reference to that you need to be consistent. Okay, like put it this way. Here's another analogy for you. Pretty simple. Say you want to build a 100 floor building, and you get to the 99th floor, and you're like, oh man, I've been working so hard. I've been doing everything I can do. I'm going to take a break, right? And then 5 years later, you wonder why the 100-story building never got completed. Well, because you only built 99 floors and then you stopped. You understand? You have to be consistent and you have to apply yourself. It's no grandiose goal. If you have some huge, large thing that you're trying to accomplish, it's not going to happen unless you really apply yourself as much as you want that goal to happen. Nothing's going to come easy. Nothing's going to come for free. You need to realize that. And you can do it. You just have to be dedicated and you have to push yourself, right? That's a really big thing that people don't do, is people look to others for validation. I noticed this. It's like a modern day thing. I don't get it. You need to validate yourself, and your actions need to validate your own spirit and your own mind. So it's important that you do dream big, and then you work hard to make that dream happen. Okay, I'll wrap that one up. Let's see, I've got natural dopamine response versus unnatural progression. And this is an extremely important point that I feel like a lot of people don't grasp either. And the main thing that this is in reference to is money. Basically, if you look at the natural way things work, say you're a farmer, okay? You look at the natural way things work. You're hungry and you're a farmer. So what you do is you plant potatoes or carrots, you plant something and you nurture it, you take care of it, and there's a progression. You reach the end stage where the food is ready. You pick the food, you cook the food, you consume the food, and you get this accomplishment because you had that natural progression, right? So you get this at the end, you get a dopamine release. And society today works in a way where we're denied that, basically, because there's a middleman, the middleman being money. So there's a separation between the progression is broken, is what I'm trying to say. There's a separation between point A and the finish line, and that separation is money, currency, right? So what I mean by that is, nowadays you do something that you perhaps hate to do. Like a lot of people don't like their jobs. So say you do something that you don't want to do. You're working, and then you get this money that really is not the end goal. Like I said, say you're hungry. The end goal is food, okay? And you might be doing a job that's not making food, right? Now you get the money, and the money gets the food, but there's not that natural linear progression to the end step, and therefore the dopamine release is hampered. It's not natural. It's an unnatural progression. So you're going to have these issues where you don't feel satisfied because, like I said, you're not doing the correct work and the correct steps to achieve the end goal. Just like I was talking about with the 100-story building, same principle. It's like you have to have these progressions in every aspect of your life, or as many aspects as possible. Whatever you can influence to have those progressions, it's important that you recognize those progressions and that you realize that there are unnatural progressions all the time in your life. And those might be the root of some of the problems you're having. If you're unsatisfied, if you're feeling like a disconnect, I guess, with nature and stuff like that, that might be part of the problem. Just an idea, just a snowball. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, we have understanding control, another very important and very valid point. So, control over life is an illusion. It's not true. It's impossible. There's way too many variables. You will never be able to control somebody else's free will. And therefore, just from that one point alone, you're never going to be able to control all the variables of your life. It's just, like I said, completely unrealistic. It's not real. You can't do it. No matter how hard you try, even if you had all the power in the world, even if you had all the money, you can't control free will. It is impossible to manipulate or control all the variables at all times. Okay? But the one thing you can control and that you have full control over is yourself and your own actions. So you have to realize this, because all these people, they strive for, all these things that are out of their control, and then they get really angry and they get pent up and they get all this like aggression almost from, like, oh, I want this, I want to do this, I want that to happen, and it doesn't. And it's like, the gears and stuff are grinding, and it's like, as I said, you have to realize what's realistic, what goals are realistic. If it's beyond your control, then you have to come to grips with that. You have to grasp that, you know? And as I said before, you have to have the proper emotional response and the correct awareness of that situation to realize, hey, this is beyond my control. I'm sitting here being mad about it. For what? That's not going to change anything. Me being mad doesn't make it within my control. So why would I be mad about it? That's just my point of view, is the only thing you can truly control is yourself, and most people don't do that. Okay? They try and control all these variables and all these things that's impossible to control, and then the one thing that they can control, they don't even try. And then wonder why their life's a mess. Oh, why do I feel unsatisfied? Why do I feel this? And it's like, you feel that because you are not focusing on the things that matter, and you're not focusing on what you can achieve realistically. Mindset is very important. Like I was saying with the seesaw and the positive and the negative, you have to understand. You have to grasp that yes, there is a balance, but also, if you will use this, not exactly what I'm looking for, but if you cheat a little bit, right, you can manipulate the balance. Okay, that's not the best way to describe it, but we'll go with that for now. Let's see. Here we go. Light your lantern. And what I mean by this is, I think everybody is born with a spark. And everybody has something in their soul, something in their heart that is beyond anything else. It's beyond genetics. It's beyond experience, right? Everybody has something that drives them. And it's different for, some people it's music, some people really like the outdoors, whatever it is. It could be anything. But everybody has this spark. And when I say light your lantern, this is probably what I would arguably say is the most important thing. Is you need to keep that spark alive, and you need to fan that spark into a flame, and fan that flame into a fire, and fan that fire into an inferno, and you will be the happiest in your life if you light your own lantern. Okay? You can follow all these other things that people say, and you can do all these behaviors that other people partake in, or people tell you to do in the case of employment, stuff like that. People say, oh, do this, but really, if you follow your passion, that's going to be the most fulfilled that you will ever be, realistically. You following somebody else's passion is never going to light your lantern, right? It's just going to light their lantern. And in order to have a complete life and have self-fulfillment and be happy and break those cycles, you need to light your own lantern, and you need to make sure that it stays lit, right? And that's not always easy. I'm not saying that it's so easy to do and just follow your passion. You know, a lot of people's passion, like especially musicians and stuff, or sometimes artists, it's like they live a life that's fairly lackluster in terms of income and in terms of, how you say, job steadiness, I guess. Like, it's hard for a lot of people to have hobbies realistically as a main source of fulfillment, right? But as much as you possibly can, you should strive to do that, because nothing else is going to satisfy you the same way as that is. And also, this ties in, which is really important as well, you want to associate with people that light your lantern and associate with people that you light their lantern. You understand? You don't want to, if you, right, say you got this little spark and you're fanning it into a flame, and you got this, starting to get this nice fire going. You don't want to associate with people that are going to come over and throw a bucket of water on it, and now you got nothing, or now you lose a lot of momentum and have to perhaps start over, or build it back up. You don't want to lose progress if you can avoid it, which may or may not be the case. It might not even be from somebody else. It could be your own doing, and you lose some of the passion. People grow, people change. But basically, you want to be around people that are fanning your flame, people that are in your corner. You may lose a little bit of that fire, and then somebody comes from behind with the, like a bellows or a fan, oh, I got your back, and builds you up. That's what you want to keep around. You don't want to associate with people that are going to, I don't want to say hold you back, but you don't want to associate with people that aren't going to build you up. Okay? And it's not their job to build you up. All right? Don't manipulate people to build you up. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you'll know in your spirit, you'll feel it naturally when you're around somebody and that somebody boosts your passion and boosts your everything, your energy and your drive, your inspiration. Somebody that inspires you is basically what I'm saying. If you find people that inspire you, that's a very important, and those are treasures that you want to hold on to, right? You want to hold on to those people. Trust me. Very important. And as I said, too, don't be afraid to inspire others. Like me, I've always been what I consider to be a pretty intelligent person, but I never talk to anybody. I'm very introverted. I always keep to myself. I don't speak to anybody. So I just figured maybe now it's time. Maybe there's something in there that other people want to hear or need to hear. Maybe there's some way that I can help somebody, even if I don't realize it. You got me? Let's see what else we got. Here we go. This is very important too, especially for people who have issues with depression. This is one of the most important things. Communicate thoroughly. And I can't express this enough, right? Especially for people who mask their emotions, particularly, usually be like in America, it's primarily men. I would say even primarily young men. Don't do that. Don't do that. Communicate thoroughly, right? You need to find a person or people, as I was saying before with the light your lantern. There's going to be people, and you'll know when you find them. There's going to be people that care about you, and there's going to be people that listen to you. And when you're in a dark spot, you might think, oh, nobody cares, nobody's going to listen to me. Like, that's how you are going to feel inside, because you're in a dark spot. But that's not necessarily true. And you need to realize that. And these people that do care about you and do listen to you, those are the people, when you're in a dark spot, that you need to seek out, because that's going to help tremendously, tremendously to get you in a better reference point, a better frame of mind. If you have something bothering you and you just let it eat away or just like weigh you down, it's going to be very difficult to make progress of any type or to have any type of spiritual growth. So you need to get that weight off. You need to, whatever parasite is eating at you, you need to separate yourself from that. And a major part of doing so is being able to communicate effectively your emotions, your thoughts, your experiences that are happening, like your point of view. You have to be able to efficiently manage the communication of that. And it's going to help you greatly doing so. People do care, and people will help. And you are strong, and you can do it. I promise. Trust me. Anyways, remember, in life it's easy to fall off. But even so, never stop climbing the cliff.